Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Transfer Podcast here on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Trev Downey. Of course, I'm joined by Dave Davis. And Dave, I must apologise to both you and our listeners for the lunatic with the chainsaw in the background, who not only is going to affect the sound quality, I'll try and mute when I can, but also is causing me to be completely overheating here in beautiful rural Ireland, where I can't even open the window because of this chainsaw lunatic. But anyway, how are you, Fred?
Mate, good weather here as well. We literally had just finished barbecuing for tea and jumped in for this. Like you say, it's absolutely sweltering, but we complain if it was pissing it down, wouldn't we? So we'll take it.
Oh, that's it. It would be ideal if I could open my freaking window, but oh no, Chainsaw Man has decided that it's his turn. Now, I will openly admit that today I actually bought myself some fancy power tools, so I'm going to go out and make a load of noise later on just to get them back. So here we go. Let's lean into what we're here to talk about, which is transfers, also buying and selling, like I was up to a bit earlier on. And we, of course, I think since we last spoke, had the much awaited, much vaunted chat with Mr. Slot, who came in and seemed like an affable chap. Myself and Lisa Marie spoke about the day after it happened, when we recorded last Friday the AIP show. And, you know, we were both of a similar mind in terms of, I thought he came across as quite natural, not necessarily looking to over-egg the pudding and be overly pleasing to the fans and too mawkish and too sentimental. And I'm all about that. I do like that. I think if you remember the Kloppo one, if that hadn't worked out, he was really setting himself up as a hostage to fortune. I don't think Arne put his neck on the block too much, but he made the right noises. And of course, the thing that we're interested in here, and please feel free to work your own initial impressions of Mr. Slot in. What we're focusing on here is the relationship that he's going to have when it comes to the bigger buying and selling, which is at the heart of what we do on this show and are interested in on this show. And I thought very much, it came across to me at least, that he sort of knows very much his place in the hierarchy, and he is very much there to coach the team. And yes, he will have an input, but it's an input. He is not going to be the main player. And if anyone thinks it was going to be any different, why do they think Michael Edwards is back? It wouldn't be back. He wouldn't be the old regime falling back into line if it hadn't been for the fact that Jurgen's gone, and therefore that, you know, way of operating toward the end of his tenure is also going to be gone. It's very interesting, Dave. I find it fascinating to keep an eye on how this is shaping up. What's your take?
It's an interesting, because he was there in his tracksuit, wasn't he? The behind-the-scenes video and he got fitted, kind of like Kingpin from Spider-Man look, didn't he? The sleek baddie type of thing. But with a tracksuit as opposed to the cravat and the suit. I think he sounded confident. He sounded clear. He's a different character to Kloppo, whereas we know Kloppo's more kind of off the cuff, kind of more humorous, that type of thing. You can see Slot is more calculated in what he does, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just different types of fella, isn't it? But I like the way he came across. And yeah, like you said, Trev, the whole knowing his role, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, whatever, you'd have never seen Liverpool publicly released to the relevant places like The Athletic, an organisation chart, wouldn't you? They're trying to make it crystal clear just who's in charge and how things work. And as much as it was a clear plan, that question, clear plan, Slot battered it away, didn't he, Trev? Straight away said, almost made a joke of it. This is what we do in Europe anyway, type of thing, like English peasants, the way you do things type of thing. So, yeah, he's used to being in that head coach role, and he was really keen to sort of reaffirm that, wasn't he? So I thought he handled it well. I thought he came across well. He talked, which I liked as well, almost as though he was his next-door neighbour, Richard. Kept talking about Richard, didn't he, as in Richard Hughes, to kind of brings that into the mix as opposed to just Michael Edwards, but said they talked in length already. They talked about plans for the summer. They'd had those discussions. They speak daily. So whatever anyone made or didn't make of Slot's first interview, day, behind the scenes, etc., it's quite clear he's spoken to Richard Hughes. Richard Hughes is the sporting director at Liverpool, in charge of that. They were all lining ultimately to Michael Edwards, but everyone knows the roles and everyone is aware of the next stages. So we'll just have to see how that all unfolds.
Yeah, my personal highlight was when he started going up the stairs and then got followed by 2 more bald lads and then went seeking bald lads on the various floors of Melwood to embrace as fellow bald brethren. He won tremendous points for me when he did that. Fair play to him. I'm very, very curious about this because, like I say, I don't think he didn't come across as defeated or anything like that, but he came across very much, like I say, I think, you seem to have picked up on that as well. That it was very much, the hierarchy is there. And as you say, the constant references to Richard, he's very much obviously the guy he's going to be reporting to when it comes to that, as opposed to the other way around. It's a team, but, we're left in, I thought, very little doubt as to who will have the final say or who is the main shake when it comes to the act of actually acquiring players. And we thought we were going to have to talk about a couple of annoying stories where we were being ruled out of connections to centre-backs, having been ruled out previously with connections to number 6s. And that was a very, very sort of, it's not exactly the kind of exciting fodder we want for the Liverpool section of our transfer show. However, there have been a couple of bigger stories that have broken today. We have some really interesting news about Adrian, who earlier on had been the cause of much Liverpool fan angst. Well, certain Liverpool fans, when they heard about a new contract extension. I just found it quite amusing. I was wondering what in the name of God it was that he had over people. I think some people have fallen into the bracket of really underrating what he is in terms of his ability. So that may be an issue. But there's one club apparently who doesn't underrate Adrian's ability. And then we had Mr. Endo pouring some petrol all over the previous story that I sort of alluded to there, where we're having some of the local lads, the local journals, ruling out the possibility of a move for a 6. Talk us through these 2 very, very meaty and interesting Reds-related potential transfer stories.
Yeah, Adrian, he's heading back home, isn't he? So a couple of offers are apparently from Spain, and very much it seems like it's going to be Betis because he's from Sevilla, that area of the world, isn't he? So back home, closer to family. And to be fair, like you said, Trev, popular member of the squad, knows his role very well, minimal age. It's quite obvious why they were going to offer him another deal. However, you can't blame him at all. He's closer to family. It's going to be, it seems that we play him more potentially. He's not going to play for us, is he? But with Betis, it looks like he will get some minutes, be it in cups, be it in whatever. So fair play to Adrian. It is what it is. that one ends in a sad way for him almost. He doesn't get the send-off a little bit like Joel Matip and the others did at the end of the season. But hey-ho, that is the nature of football. Endo, by the way, Endo recreated that Leonardo DiCaprio gif. You know when he's on the sofa with the beer and pointing at the TV? Everyone is like, I said that. He's recreated that game. So let's just be clear of what Wataru Endo said. Liverpool's only genuine number 6 on international duty. Let's be crystal clear what he said. Because he was asked about the reports, Liverpool wanted a 6, etc., etc. He said, I don't mind the reports. I also think it's good to acquire a number 6 or an anchor for the midfield. Considering my age, it might be good to get a number 6. If that ultimately makes the team stronger, I welcome it. At which point, as you know, you've seen the reaction on Twitter and everything, Trev, cue the semi to low level meltdown from some people, etc., saying, it's this, blah, 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 blah. Endo also talked about, I'd welcome competition in my place. He's not looking to move on. Endo is also not reporting to Richard. Endo is not the new sporting director. He was just asked a specific question, which he answered honestly. No one disagrees with what he's saying necessarily, but people will dive into this for all sorts of reasons, such as I told you. Endo was asked a question, he answered it, but it's all good fun, isn't it, Trev? It just brings a bit of controversy and spotlight to it all, like.
It does. I think it speaks highly of his character that he can be so affable about it. The fact that he can speak in a sort of semi-derogatory way about the fact that he's getting on a bit. Maybe he's just actually possibly aware of it himself and, understands that perhaps he will have limits by comparison to what he could have had in the past when he was younger and more sprightly. Now, he's not exactly ancient, so the whole age thing is an interesting one for him to bring up. But I do think that's it sort of put a few people in their box. At the same time, Dave, as you say, it doesn't really actually change anything, because what was he going to say except like, oh, I don't want anyone to come in, it's my spot and nobody's allowed to play there except me. I mean, come on, what was he going to say? It's a bit like, when Weavian was asked about a move and what's he going to say? He's going to make the right sounds, talk about how he wants to play, but he also welcomes competition. I mean, you know what I'm alluding to when I'm talking about some of the local lads pouring a bit of cold water on two areas where we all really feel that the team needs strengthening, considering some outgoings and considering just the profile of the squad, the centre-back area, specifically towards the left-hand side of it, and the also the holding sort of anchor midfield role, the defensive midfielder type. That we've all, I think everybody and his dog can see that they're two areas that the squad does need to improve in. Did you find yourself just rolling your eyes at the stories about how we're kind of covered in that department and it's not a priority for the club? Considering that all the time there was this fancy for Lenny Yarrow talk, we're going to come back to that in a second. Considering that we spent an entire, felt like an entire summer pursuing a very expensive option at the number 6 last summer, do you think it's just the lads now, we're back in situ, we're going to keep feeding you like mushrooms, feeding you shit, and you can grow as much as you want in the dark, because that's where we're going to keep you? What do you feel is going on with these statements of prioritization? It seems a bit, I don't know, almost as if it's been fed out via the local lads to dampen expectations or make other clubs think we're not interested. It feels a bit cynical. We couldn't possibly not be interested in a defensive midfielder, surely.
No, definitely, you're right. We're clearly interested. We're clearly in that market. We're doing the carpet shopping that we did last summer. When we're getting quotes for people and finding out what it would take, are they interested, what they're after, doing the research and the filtering, like carpet shopping almost, as we said last summer. So I fully believe that. What I like, Trev, and people don't, and I understand that, is Liverpool have never been a leaky club, as it were, anyway. There's not that much comes out. And since Michael Edwards has come back, have you noticed how practically nothing is coming out, that you don't have that feeling as like, that's been placed for a reason? no doubt about it. So I don't mind that. Now, I know that doesn't always sit well almost with the show, and it'll make me sound hypocritical because we're not a rumour club, as it were. We're not things being played out publicly. I get that. But overall, it's better to be this way than a Chelsea style, isn't it? Or the other clubs that we'll talk about later on. Far, far better. I love it. This is just me, and it's pathetic and it's childish, but you know how I work, Trev. I love it when people lose the shit. I find it quite funny because it's the childish nature in me. And I'm hoping at some point during the summer, One Patch Journo's going to write that story when things maybe haven't moved as people want, but Tyler Morton or Stefan Bajcetic is the new 6, quote unquote. You know, like Danny Ward was the new number 1 that time and people lost their minds. And then all of a sudden, Alisson Becker came in 24 to 40 hours later. I might sound mental when I say this. I do expect both those positions to be addressed. I think it's fair to say both those positions should be addressed. It's fair to say the club is looking. There's lots of things that have been talked about in the club briefing in terms of, oh, there's this, it's not the right one in the market, etc., etc. I'm not saying there's not truth to that, but you cannot, if you're a top, serious club, fail to address, or call yourself that, if you fail to address your inadequacies 2 summers in a row in specific areas. Now, there was a big series of events last summer, we know, that led to it, and we've played that through. It is simply not acceptable to have the exact same scenario play out 2 summers in a row. So, it's very early in the window. There's a shed long way to go, Trev, but I'm calm, more than relaxed now. If this is a week before the window ends, and we're talking like this, people need to be asked serious questions. But the sun's out, I've had a barbecue, I'm probably going to have a chalk ice or some Arctic roll later, so I'm quite calm as we stand, but we'll see what the summer brings.
I don't need a VPN, I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
I feel like a chalk ice to chill a man right out, it has to be said. You've given me an idea for a purchase later on. That's very good. There are some things happening in and around Liverpool. Let's start with the one that's not going to happen because of what's happening elsewhere. Fancifully or otherwise, the Lenny Euro to Liverpool links were hanging around. Most of us, when we heard Real Madrid were in the mix, thought, yeah, well, forget about it then. And then Real Madrid went and did a bit of business. And it seems as if that should surely put an end to any more fanciful speculation between Liverpool and Euro. What do we know is going on there? And why are people now finally, I think, willing to let the dream die?
Someone's going to shout, well, nothing's signed yet, so there's still hope. And yes, technically that is true, Trev, but give it up. This is like the scene in Monty Python where they say, bring out your dead. We are at that stage, basically. Simple as that. Nacho, the Real Madrid centre-half, has pretty much agreed his full deal with the Saudi club. So he is going to go. We're just pretty much waiting on the announcement for that. As the Real Madrid correspondent for The Athletic has said, and a few other Spanish outlets, Lenny Oro wants Real Madrid. As the UK journos have said, Lenny Yoro wants Real Madrid. It's all about the negotiations between Lille and Real Madrid. Lille are going to try and force a top dollar. Real Madrid are going to try and force a low ball. That is the game now. Yes, someone is going to be shouting, well, until it's done, we are waiting and we're hoping. And yes, that is true. I am not disagreeing with that. But when we're talking a chance, Trev, we're talking in the single digits, aren't we, a chance of it happening? It's easier just to accept, pretty much, that barring an absolute miracle and the strangest things have happened, I'm covering myself nicely here like a conservative politician, Lenny Yoro is going to be a Real Madrid player, like it or not.
Yeah, it seems that way, and it seemed to me at least that once we heard that was the player's desire, there was pointless kind of talking about it. Now, I think we'll save a couple of tempting and juicy links that still exist so that we can end on at least a hopeful note with regard to Liverpool transfers, seeing as we are offering nothing by way of that sort of fare today, apart from these couple. And let's, just before we get there, talk about Tyler Morton, who appears to be attracting interest from other clubs.
Yeah, it's a funny one, because if we were a professional show, we'd talk about how Liverpool are carefully utilising the media and Paul Joyce and those outlets. We'd talk about how Liverpool were carefully looking at market valuations and adjusting the player's value accordingly. That's what we talk about at the serious show. But because we don't give a fuck, Trev, we could use beautiful analogies. And this, to me, is like Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes have set up a market stall where everything is 20 million to start with. Everything, Trev. If you want Queven Kelleher, 20 million, north of. If you want Sepp van der Berg, 20 million, probably will come down a bit and we'll haggle. And now, if Tyler Morton is to go, you can guess what the price is quoted in this Times article for Tyler Morton, Trev? 20 million. It's like, literally, they're on the market stall out there with the gloves, with the fingers cut off and everything, ready to haggle and impress old ladies. Hughes and Edwards, the double act. 20 million, everything must go. That is exactly how they set this up. Now, this is not diminishing Tyler Morton, who I think is a fabulous player. His technical ability, his press resistance, his ability on the ball is absolutely brilliant. It really is, especially for a player his age. He's so cultured. However, he probably just lacks a bit of pace, physicality, and you could argue that's going to come. But there's a difference between having real technical ability and being a Liverpool starter in that midfield. And also, it's understandable that having played every week at Hull, going to that England under-21 side, he would really want to continue his development. And we know we're already overcrowded with midfielders, so it would just make sense that Tyler Morton and Liverpool are considering the next stages of his career. But it's a carefully placed story. It's carefully advertised in Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes's 20 million, everything must go market stall. Could you imagine Michael Edwards with those gloves on with the holes cut out, like Steptoe and Son, one of those money belts, like market traders have with the pound coins and stuff like that, the plastic see-through bags, like red for the veg, like blue for the produce, ready to sell everything for 20 million or so, Trev. That is why we're the transfer show. This is what we bring you. You cannot get it anywhere else.
In fact, I remember the joys of the pound shop back in the day. Now in Ireland, it's gone up to the €2 shop. And the biggest swizz is when you go into a €2 shop occasionally, things in there are $2.49, the bastards. And in that vein, to extend your analogy, Queven Kelleher may have started at 20 million, but during the week, my friend, I saw that we were rating him at 40 million. Now, whether or not someone just picked that out of their arse pocket, I don't know. But that's, did you hear the story about the hike in what we apparently feel that Queven's worth?
This is, for the market stall, Kelleher is the punnet of strawberries. Your market traders have always got like a specialist item that they, push, like a punnet of strawberries, or we've got dragon fruit, or something like that. That's what Kelleher is. He's the pudding of strawberries. He's the 20 quid or 2 for 40, which they're trying to push, and say he's the number 2 to make it 40 million. Liverpool are not going to get 40 million for Caoimhin Kelleher. They're just trying to make it super duper clear it's north of 20 million to start negotiations. That's all they're doing. But yeah, I mean, I'm not being funny, Trev. If we're going to start saying Kelleher's worth 40 million, then I want Scarlett Johansson to at least bring 400 euros to the table before she even contacts me. Put it that way. So yeah, nonsense valuation, all the same.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's very interesting the way things are going. And I don't dislike it, Dave. I don't dislike it. I think it might be trending in the right direction. And now there are going to be people on the back of the Adrian thing saying, well, Caoimhin doesn't need to leave now. But nothing has changed. He wants to be a number 1. Nothing has changed. So I'm afraid that might scupper some people's hopes, but they'll have to think about it again. Now, we have some hopes in terms of getting some players in, for Christ's sake. One of the ones championed very, very much so by your fellow Dave, Mr. Hendrick, is Calafiori. And another one is Nico Williams. Now, both of them are also, of course, linked with many other clubs, some of them very, very prominently so. And I have heard talk as well about something happening so that they stay where they are. So every option seems to be up for grabs with these two youngsters. Is there anything, I think people got a little bit excited about the Calafiori thing on the back of our long-haired Italian-based TV journalist being the one who broke the story. What's your feel about the relative strength of the connections to either of these two from a Liverpool perspective?
We're back to this Boran Journo versus Patch Journo contest. Maybe we should just make them do a big sort of boxing-style matchroom tournament 5-5 to see who the winner is, because it does feel like we pit Boran Journo against Patch Journo quite often. But as you said, James Horncastle, the TNT, various outlets, very well respected sort of I don't know how you put it, correspondent, I think is probably the right word, has said that Liverpool are interested or awareness of Calafiori. Very much, there'd been a lot of talk that Juventus, that seemed inevitable, that he would follow Motta. However, if you sort of read the reports and, the we ask it around that we do, that is far from a foregone conclusion. Juventus themselves have their financial issues. So people are, especially in that neck of the world, they're telling us, don't, just assume that by any means at all. Not that we've got a hot take on it or, the hot news or anything, but that is what is being told to us from asking. At the same time, what are the various Patch Journos or different people saying? He is a player that Liverpool like and Liverpool are aware of, no doubts at all. However, Trev, it's your old carpet shopping, isn't it? We like him. We know about him. We've got the quote, if you want to call him that. Does that mean we're going to be purchasing him for £12 a yard? It's not the same thing. So I like him. I think he's a real talent. People are going to talk about his injury record and all that type of thing. Whether they believe, how they view that is up to them. Liverpool clearly like him. Liverpool are clearly aware of him. To disappoint people, there's absolutely nothing right now that says Liverpool are going to wet that hammer and pull the trigger on that, I'm afraid, at all. So, liked, known about, of interest, all those phrases, insert, no problem at all. Solid bid, as Les Dennis would point to the board in Family Fortunes and say,
Yeah, the old carpet shopping thing. I mean, I just hope we don't end up, Dave, with a Rafa Benitez situation where we've spent a long time eyeing up this beautiful oriental rug and we come away with a desk lamp. That is the thing that you worry about. But, look, if the faith that so many of our fellow podcasters have across many platforms, including our own, if the faith that they have in these boys in the new nerd revolution is justified, then we should really just relax, because it's only going to be a matter of time before these new gems arrive that we will polish into world-class players and can get excited about, and hopefully will be in the vein of your Manes and Alissons and all the rest of it. So let's just let's hold our fire, keep our powder dry, and all these other cliches that I can come up with to do with shooting until something comes along that we can get very excited about. But like you say, the Calafiori and Williams things do seem not quite as fanciful as the Euro level one, but as you say, nothing solid at all. So we can't offer you folks today a very definite Liverpool link. But let's also remember that the manager is just in his seat less than a week. We're doing this on a Monday.
Yeah.
I think the first day was Thursday. It was already came in on Thursday. So let's just allow that. We're gonna have some sort of a couple of weeks and see how it goes. People may even have to be patient and wait till the end of the Euros. Who knows? But I hate to say it, Dave. Other clubs don't seem to be waiting, especially clubs as we move into the Premier League section of the show now, with the whole PSR scenario around them. They seem to have been getting very, very inventive. I will start with one of the clubs involved in that, and it's a big, big story, and we'll get back to the PSR thing specifically, but one of the clubs who are involved in that whole scenario are Chelsea. And it seems as though we've got a Michael Elise story because Mr. Ornstein dropped one of his bombs.
Yeah, it's probably the big one that's not a PSR related one, isn't it, or an FFP club. So yeah, it's probably the big Premier League story of the window so far, isn't it? That it came out that Friday night that very quickly together that Chelsea were no longer in the running for Michael Elise. A lot of people had them as the favourites. Chelsea tried to play it as in, it didn't make sense and all this, blah, blah, blah. The player clearly didn't want to go there. It's come out subsequently that he picked Bayern Munich. And why did he pick Bayern Munich? Champions League. Yes, the money's there. I'm not saying he's going playing for free or missionary work, but the status of the club and Champions League. And to be fair, Trev, you don't blame him. You look at Chelsea and the mess it is. The other option that it seems was for Newcastle, and we know they've got their own PSR issues and looking at separate things as well. So to me, it was a really easy choice for him to make. I mean, again, we're now playing foreign journal versus UK journal, I should say. They're very much the foreign journalists trying to allude to it somewhere around 50 to 55 million. Ornstein and a few others saying no, they'll play the release clause, which is believed to be 60 to 65 for Champions League clubs. So again, it depends who you want to believe, I suppose, on that. Also, everyone seems quite unanimous. The salary he will be getting, Trev, is over 200 grand a week. So a massive whack-off upgrade on what he's on now. And let's be honest, how many clubs in the world, it's not a small handful, but it's not like a tenthful either, can afford to pay 200 grand a week to someone who's had a good season in the Premier League and looks some talent. I'm not doubting that at all. But he's hardly proven on the world stage or even in the Champions League, etc. So it's a huge wage for a player with that pedigree, as it were. But Bayern have won it. We're just waiting for all that to do medical and be announced. The only thing that's going to delay it is Elise's with the French camp and Thierry Henry at the Olympics. So we'll see how that works. I don't know if they'll do it around that, before it, after it. That's the only thing holding it up. This is the done deal of the window so far.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of one cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.